In this week's video, we are going to discuss 21 do's and don'ts when coming to an Orthodox synagogue. Rule number 1, arrange before you come to Shul. It's always best to check in with a rabbi or the Shul itself before you come to Shul. Or you need to know someone inside the community that will take you into the synagogue. As you might imagine, Jews are quite security conscious and they don't just let anyone inside the synagogue. So for you to feel welcome, it will be best to arrange with someone before you come to Shul. Rule number 2, come on Shabbat. Shabbat is the holiest day for any observant Jew. Shabbat normally starts on a Friday evening till a Saturday evening. The busiest time inside the synagogue is in the Shabbat Shacharit service or the morning service. Rule number 3, where should I park? Now, Shomer Shabbat Jews do not drive at all on Shabbat. Shomer Shabbat Jews believe that the Torah prohibits any lighting of a fire, as it states in the Torah, and when you switch on the car, you are igniting a flame. That's why we don't drive. But there is Jews that is not observant yet that do drive to Shul. So you will not be the only one, unfortunately. You can park actually anywhere, but most people, Jews, that is not observant yet, park out of sight from the actual synagogue, and if you want to feel comfortable and at home, you should do the same. Rule number 4, security. Now, this was one of the things that freaked me out the first time I went to a shul. I mean, this is a religious service with people that's armed to the teeth in front of the synagogue. Now, security differs from place to place, so it's not everywhere exactly the same. Rule number 5, what should I wear? Now, most men wear a suit when coming to shul, or they come in semi-formal wear, and you should do the same. There is normally a kippah or a head covering as you enter the shul, and you can just take one of those, as most non-observant Jews do, and put it on your head. This should be worn throughout the service inside the shul. For women, it is very important to dress modestly, as everyone in the shul will be dressed modestly. Now, come in a dress that is below your knees. Also cover the ladies up and wear something up to the neckline. If you want to be fully frum, you could wear something that covers still below your elbows. This, not everyone does, but it is a good thing to do if you want to feel comfortable inside the shul. Rule number 6, the length of the service. Now, the length of the service varies from country to country, I've heard. In South Africa, it starts at about 8:45. If you stay till after the Shiur, till about 1. Now, what you will discover is that a shul is not as organized as a church, and people come and go as they please. There's obviously certain times when it's best not to do that. For you as someone trying to experience Judaism or see what it's like, or coming to a bar mitzvah, it's always best to stay for the entire length of the service. Rule number 7, electronics. Now, in most places before you go, they tell you to shut off your phone. In a synagogue, this is critical, as most Jews in a synagogue is Shomer Shabbat, which means they do not operate any electronics on Shabbat. That means if your phone were to vibrate or ring, you will stand out and it will scream, "I don't belong." So it's best to either leave your phone at home or to switch it completely off and not look at it, not take it out, not use it. 8. What do Jews think about newcomers? So most Jews are quite friendly and quite inquisitive with newcomers. They will probably ask you where you're from. All these questions are to check if you are actually Jewish or not. Second question will be, what's your name and surname? From this they can also see, are you Jewish or not? If you are a potential convert, halachically speaking, you do not have to tell anyone that you are converting. And you can be evasive with your answers. I am a little bit different, and I'm quite a proud convert. And that is why I tell people straight out when they ask me my name, my surname, or where I'm from, that I am a convert. Number 9. Women and men in a shul are separated. Men sit on the one side and women sit on the other side. There is normally a divider between them, where in some shuls you can still see the other people, and in other shuls you cannot. This is something that you will have to get used to. This will not change in the Orthodox world. Accept it and move on. Rule number 10, which I found very strange. Now, there is no touching in the synagogue from a male to a female. No hugging, no shaking hands, nothing, unless you are married to that individual. Number 11. As you get into the shul, ask for a Shiur, which is a prayer book, and a Chumash, which has the first 5 books of Moses inside. You can ask this to the first person you meet. Just say, where's a Shiur and a Chumash? And they will tell you. Now remember, when you open these books, Jews read from back to front, which might be a little bit strange. Another thing is that all these books, the Shiur and the Chumash, have Hebrew on the one side and English on the other side. So you will be 100% okay inside the shul service. Number 12. What language does this Jew speak? Now the whole service is in Hebrew, which does make it tricky for an outsider. Now, as I said, in the Shiur and in the Chumash, there is an English section and a Hebrew section, so you will be able to follow. It is difficult with the Hebrew, but it is something that you will get used to, and it makes the whole experience more authentic. A Tallit. You will see most men wearing a Tallit, also called a prayer shawl. Now, this has different customs depending on the shul that you go into. If you are going to an Ashkenazi shul and you are unmarried, you will not wear a Tallit. Also, the fact that you're not Jewish, you will also not wear a Tallit. So you will actually blend in quite nicely. Most people will just think you are not married yet. In a Sephardic shul, however, all men past bar mitzvah wear Tallit. And unfortunately, you will stand out a bit. Rule number 14. Do not be afraid to ask when you are in the shul. You can ask someone that sits next to you or close to you. Ask them which page you are at. Or you can just lean over and check which page you are at. Otherwise, the service, in my opinion, will be for you meaningless. So please, don't be afraid to ask. Most Jews will be happy to help you. Rule number 15. Now, this is a rule that applies in most life situations. Do as everyone else is doing. That is the best way to blend in. So if some people are standing, or most people are standing, stand. If most people are sitting, sit. If most people are quiet, be quiet. Now, actually in a shul, you should be quiet all the time. But you will see, that's not always the way it goes. Rule number 16. Now, praying in shul might look a bit different. This is probably the only time when it is dead quiet in a shul. That and when the Torah is read. Now, this is called the Amidah, where people normally step 3 times backwards and 3 times forwards, and then stand silently and sway back and forth, depending on your minhag. Now, during this time, you should not ask any questions. You should be quiet and you should read whatever is inside your Siddur in the Amidah section. Rule number 17. Reading of the Torah. As a general rule of thumb, when the Torah is on the move, you should be standing. When the Torah is stationary, you should be seated. This is the halakha. Most people stand whenever the Torah is being touched. That's just something that I've noticed inside most shuls. Now, when the Torah is read, you should be silent and you should be following along in your Chumash. Rule number 18. Now, during the service, there will be some singing. Now, the singing is actually inside the Siddur, and it is actually praise. That is just as a little bit of a tune. It will be sang in Hebrew, and if you do not speak Hebrew, it will be quite tricky to follow along. So what I did when I first went to a shul is I did everything in English. You do not have to sing. It's not an obligation to sing. So, to make it more meaningful, I think personally, it's better just to do everything in English. Number 19. The Kiddush Bracha. Now, after the service, there is normally a Kiddush Bracha in the adjoining hall to the shul. Now there, first there will be a little bit singing, which is actually blessing of the wine, Borei Pri Hagafen, and then the sanctity of the day of Shabbat. This is normally sponsored by someone in the community or by the shul itself, and you are free to help yourself during this Kiddush Bracha. There's normally something to drink, coffee, tea, soft drinks, and something to eat. Please help yourself, feel at home, mingle with the people, and this is the time that you can ask basically any random question you have about the service to someone that you maybe know or someone that you don't know. Most people will be quite happy to explain to you what has just taken place. Rule number 20. The Shiur. Now, after the Kiddush Bracha, there is normally a Shiur. This is almost like a lecture that the rabbi gives on a certain topic, often related to the parsha that was just read inside the shul. This is normally lengthy, and many people leave just after the Kiddush Bracha, or some people just leave before the Kiddush Bracha. It is always best, in my opinion, to stay for the Shiur, because that is where you will get something out of the service. Last, but certainly not least, number 21, Shabbat Shalom. You have made it. You have made the entire service inside an Orthodox synagogue, and you have experienced ancient rituals. Now, as you got into shul and as you leave the shul, there is something that you will hear from everyone, which is a greeting, Shabbat Shalom, which means basically may you have a peaceful Shabbos, but most people use it in general as a greeting, almost like how you, Shabbat Shalom or Shabbos. This is something you don't have to say anything back, but most people say back Shabbat Shalom or Shabbos. I hope you found this video informative in navigating the Orthodox synagogue world. I wish you all the best for this Shabbat, and may God continue to bless you in everything that you do. Shabbat Shalom.